Alright, what's going on, Forgotten Nation? I'm your host, FG, and today we're taking a look at Bit.Trip presents Runner 2, Future Legend of Rhythm Alien. And yes, I know that's a long title, but believe it or not, this is actually one of the most successful games in the series. It's both a spin-off, a sequel, and a non-canon game to the series. A 3-in-1 if you'd call it, to the original Bit.Trip series. Now, for those that have been watching my channel, you know that we have been playing through for a while now. As a matter of fact, we're going to finish all 6 games at the time this video goes up. But, for those that don't know it, there's actually quite a few references to the first 3 games in the Bit.Trip series that takes place in Runner, because Bit.Trip Runner takes place after those 3 games, and it only makes sense for them to have some acknowledgments in Runner 2. And so for today, rather than playing the game as a whole, we're going to be going to the last world of the game to visit some of these cameos. So first and foremost, there are spoilers abound. So if you haven't played this yet, please go and play it yourself. Do not watch this video until then. But for those that are sticking around, let's take a look at the final world that the game has to offer, the Bit.Trip. And for those that don't know, Charles Martinet actually does the voice of this game.
The Bit.Trip.
That's satisfying. But the entire final world of the Bit.Trip Runner 2 game is a pretty big homage to the Bit.Trip series as a whole. It's a dimension where the Bit.Trip games exist. More specifically, Bit.Trip Beat. And I'm going to let this first cutscene play to show you what I mean.
Using cunning observation, Commander Video discovers a mysterious portal to freedom from his counterfeit consciousness and takes a plunge back into a realm of familiarity. He returns to the Bit.Trip.
Now, the first 4 icons you saw in that cutscene represent In Favor, Beat, Core, Void, and Runner. And you'll see in the background we have quite a bit going on. You can see someone's playing Bit.Trip Beat in the background. You can see we have these giant slender figures that are very similar to Commander Video, taking it up from the first cutscene of Bit.Trip Core. And even the environment alone looks like it belongs to the first world of Bit.Trip Runner. Everything's blocky, even the enemies that we've seen throughout the game. And a lot of the background is represented by the colors of the pixels that you bounce off within each respective game. But as I mentioned before, this takes a lot of notes from Bit.Trip Beat. On Runner 2 though, the idea is that this is the successor to Bit.Trip Runner, so a lot of the gameplay is going to stay intact. Of course there's some new stuff in mind, but it still plays very much the same. But yes, even the gold has become blocky, the enemies are blocky. And for those that don't know it, I'm playing as the original Commander Video from the first Bit.Trip Runner. That is actually an unlockable you get for finding all the gold cartridges and playing through all the levels. Because the first Commander Video is actually a 3D polygonal person, if you call it that. After all, he's only a man. But to unlock Retro Commander Video means playing through the game itself. That was the first world of the game, but now we're going to be going into a bit of a chronological order, with the first stage being Whisper Demons. And the reason I'm playing this in a set order is because some of these levels have direct cameos that take place in a sequence. So we're going to continue with the path. Bit.Trip Runner 2 is definitely a game that builds upon the formula that was Bit.Trip Runner and improves it in every way possible. It takes what made Runner fun, adds on to it with stuff like these grind rails. There was segments like this where you have to shine the light on him. We have the reintroduction of trampolines, but also some that go very far up. And then of course we're able to jump while ducking. That's one thing that adds to it. In some segments I can dance myself, and the biggest thing is the checkpoint system, because Bit.Trip Runner did not have any checkpoints at all. So it's very nice to be able to have the checkpoints, but for those that did play the original and do want the challenge, of course you can jump over them. But that's what I get for jumping over them. So we're going to get back to that point real fast. I do really think it's cool that they decided to incorporate a little bit of the Bit.Trip into Runner 2. They didn't have to. And it's just really cool that they're going back to the roots and showing where the series came from, but still keeping the freshness that is Runner 2's core aesthetic. which is very much different from the core series, because whereas the original series is all 8-bit, it's got chiptunes, Runner 2 takes a very interesting style, where everything's hyper-realistic and kind of creepy in some ways. Especially with the first few worlds, where the backgrounds, the hills, have like these weird, derpy-looking faces. It's unique to its own aspect, but sometimes it goes a little too far. It's not to say that I hate it, but it's definitely interesting to say the least. And I know I'm missing gold, but... Alright, so the first cameo here is the background. That is the blue planet from Bit.Trip Beat. It is also going to be mentioned in Bit.Trip Flux, as it is considered the home to Commander Video. It's where the game both begins and ends. You can see the pulsing in the background, an interesting shot to say the least, and right next to the Bit.Trip Beat gameplay, an interesting cameo to say the least. Really cool stuff happening. Alright, so the next stage is called Hyperbrain. And ironically, it takes place before. And this is right in the beginning, so we don't have to play the whole stage. But that is the second planet that you play through in Bit.Trip Beat. The volcano planet, where everything is lava and on fire. And it stays throughout most of the stage. Even as you get to the middle, it tends to zoom in a bit on Commander Video. But we're not going to play the whole stage, I just want to show that off. Pretty cool reference. And next we are going to Subliminal Slide, which is a bit on the further side. Wait, nope. I passed it up. There it is. Ironically, it's actually going backwards. So it goes from here, there. You'll see what I mean in a second. I actually did not piece that together. But here in the beginning we have two. Those are the DNA strands that we see within the third stage Bit.Trip Beat. Whereas Commander Video is learning to think and build his subconscious brain, in a sense. This is not the only stage where we see the DNA strands, but it is the most common stage. So with that in mind, we're going to stop now. We're going to go to one more stage that incorporates it all together. And that is, even with the titles of cameo to its own, Only a Man. And that is something that Commander Video says a lot throughout the series. And that is essentially his catchphrase, if you call it that. So we're going to go in, and the best thing about this is that it incorporates all three of the games. So in the background you can see right there, that is Bit.Trip Void, the third game in the series. And you can see that the void is filling up, and it is trying to avoid the white. Very cool stuff happening. Now, Only a Man takes reference from one of the early stages in Bit.Trip Runner within the first world. I forget the name of the stage, but this has the most checkpoints out of all the stages in the game. So if you mess up and you decide to skip the checkpoints, you have to start all the way from the beginning. Luckily, it is on a difficulty curve, so it doesn't start too hard to begin with, but it gets harder as you go on. Really cool stuff. Alright, so the next one we see in the background is Bit.Trip Core. This is the second game in the series. And as you can see, you got the core in the middle. It's reflecting the beam onto the multiple colored beats that are hitting it. I just love that the background's incorporating all these games at the same time you're focusing. And as we go along the path, we're going to see sometimes, such as right there, you got the core, but even the orange paddle ahead, that it crashes onto the ground. Whether that's for aesthetic or representation that someone may have gotten the game over, it leaves you one to think. But very cool to see. Alright, so continue forward. Da-da-da. Now, one thing this game does have that Runner 3 won't have is the sound effects are very much the same from the first Bit.Trip Runner. Whereas Runner 3, they decided to go with a different sound set. So, different sound of gold, different sound of jumping, trampolines. And I wonder if that's going to be an improvement or not. Because I do like the sounds that the games make. It's unique to its own right. But only time will tell. For what it is, I could say Foodland so far sounds pretty good. And the last one we saw already, but in the background, that is Bit.Trip Beat, along with the blue planets. Also, we get a little glimpse there, I didn't point it out, but you can see there's two Commander Videos piloting this machine, and that is actually a reference to the first world of Bit.Trip Runner, as you see many of those within the first world as you continue forward. What it is, I still don't know, but it does produce some sort of lightning static shock. Now, of course, with Runner 2, you have the end game to get all the cores and the gold. You get to shoot yourself out of a cannon. But Bit.Trip Runner originally had those Atari-style games that you'd play in favor if you got all the gold and cores. But they decided to do something a little different for Runner, as I mentioned earlier. If you complete it all, you have the ability to play these cartridges. And by completing these cartridge games, which are based on the NES era, you are able to unlock Retro Commander Video. I'm not going to play it in full here, but this is just a look at it. And for Runner 3, they are going to take a step above, and instead of it being based on a video game, it is actually going to look a lot like a 1950s cartoon. But the big thing about it is that it's not an auto runner. It is a platformer. You move left, you move right, you can stop, you can punch. And I feel like that might be taking away from the core thing that is Bit.Trip Runner. It's a runner! So I'm wondering why they decided to have such a change in the gameplay for these special stages. But the last thing we're going to show off is the boss stage, Flight to Fate. More or less for two reasons. One, to show the main boss, of course, is Timmeltot. But two, is to show off the ending and how it incorporates the series as a whole. Because remember, as I said, this is both a spin-off, a sequel, but it's also not canon. So there we got Timmeltot, and Timmeltot looks a lot more machine this time around. It's both, I want to say terrifying, but not too terrifying. But it's interesting to say the least. And he definitely had a facelift in Runner 3. Alright. This is the only time, and there you saw the beat from Bit.Trip Beats, that you're actually running backwards. And I get the feeling that they're going to do this again with Runner 3, because with Runner 3, there's many different alternate paths you can take. Some that are vehicles, some that are special, I want to call them mini-games, because I know in the trailer they even showed there's like a, you play as a bowling ball at one point and try to get a strike. It's zany stuff that's happening. That's Bit.Trip Core represented, and Timmeltot is furious this time around. Because he is the core boss throughout all 5 worlds, and he takes on many different forms. Such as the first world, he takes on an airplane boss. I know in the last world, he, if I can remember the name, can't think of it on the top of my head right now, but it's Bit.Trip Void. But he has a similar callback to the second world of Bit.Trip Runner, where you're on a set conveyor belt and you have to avoid what's coming at you. Alright, the last phase of this boss is just hitting the beats. All the colors you see represented from Bit.Trip Beat and Core. Cool stuff. But that's the fall of Timmeltot. A mechanized machine of no good. And of course, you gotta shoot yourself out of the cannon. And that's a bullseye. Alright, so I'm gonna show this cutscene. Once again, spoilers if you haven't beat this yet.
Having deflected this psychological blitzkrieg and with a reality refused, Commander Video reunites with his colleagues 1 frame later. His compadres, left unaware of his 15-month adventure, continue their quest across the universe.
Now, there's main things about this cutscene. Number 1, you saw that Commander Video's, essentially his eye, you call it, turned red. That is in direct correlation to Bit.Trip Fate, the next game in the series, where, of course, the core message is anger, and of course, things are not going to go the way you intend. And as we saw, he does end up dying in Bit.Trip Fate. When his friends were staring at him, he got a pose just like Bit.Trip Fate as well. That's the pose he makes when you're on the set path. More or less when you get the upgrades, but I want to say that's a standard pose. And then lastly, the ending does set it up for the idea of more sequels. But I do wonder what direction Runner 3 is going to take. The directors have directly said that they want this to branch off from the Bit.Trip series and be its own thing. So I do wonder what's going to come out of Bit.Trip. Well, not Bit.Trip, Runner 3. And that's it for this video, but I also want to talk a little bit about my thoughts on Runner 3. Of course, I said a bit already, but overall, this is, I want to say, 2 weeks before the game comes out. So what are my thoughts before this game comes out for good? I'm skeptical. I'm very skeptical of Runner 3 because of what it's doing to the Runner, I want to say the formula. So, of course, you got the new stuff, you have the set paths, you're able to double jump, and of course you got this zany cast, and even the aesthetics alone are one step above Runner 2's aesthetics. But, is too much a good thing? Because Bit.Trip Runner, why do I keep calling it Bit.Trip? Runner 3, even the title's one thing for its own. Runner 3 only has 27 levels. Now, of course, every stage has the bonus stage, that's making for 56, but that's less than the first Bit.Trip Runner, where if you combine that all together, that game had 30 stages, 60 if you count the Atari bonus stages. Whereas Runner 3 will only have 56. Now, of course, there are some bonus stages that are, like, very difficult. But how much do you want to play till you're playing the same stage over and over again? The good thing about Runner 2 is that it's different stages, different layouts. But with the different paths of Runner 3, you're still playing the same stage. So I do wonder how much of it's going to feel the same and how much is going to feel different. And then one thing that bugs me in particular is the camera angle. It just feels like a departure from Runner 2 and Runner's forefront aesthetic. Now, for the sense of the game itself, it does work. You do need the different camera angles, especially when you're doing stuff like the backwards shots with the vehicles. But just something about it feels off. Maybe it's because of the lighting, maybe it's because of the different engine they're using, but I don't know. Something about it doesn't really feel like it's a Runner game. It feels like a lack of polish, I guess, if that's the word to use. But endgame, I am skeptical. I will be playing Runner 3 on the channel. I will be giving my thoughts as I play through it. But as it stands, I'm a little worried about I'm worried about Runner 3 and what it's going to be as a whole. Only time will tell, but until then, that's it for me here. So thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you to the viewers for sticking around for the Bit.Trip series playthrough. I know it may not have been my best playthrough on the channel, but I hope some of you did enjoy it, because it is a great series, and I really do think more people should try it. But for what it is, that's it from me here, so thank you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video. Alright, later guys.